Okay, so today on Fast, Loud, and Rude, we have Fell. And are you guys in Billings or are you guys in North Dakota?
We're based out of Bismarck, North Dakota.
Bismarck, North Dakota. Okay. And why don't you guys introduce yourselves and what you guys do in the band, as well as any other members who aren't, here with us today?
I'm John. I play bass. I do a little bit of backing vocals.
I'm Dakota Brass. I rhythm guitar and lead vocals.
The guys we're missing are Brian, he's the drummer, the fell hammer, and Billy, who lives in Wisconsin at the moment, and he's the lead guitar player.
Gotcha. And why don't you guys tell me a little bit about Fell and the history of the band? How did it get founded and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think we kind of had the idea for it back in 2017. It's Brian and John and myself. We played in Frosthelm, and there'd be times where we'd just be hanging out after practice or whatever. And I was listening to a lot of Motorhead and Venom at the time, and kind of had an idea for like a black and roll band. And then a couple years later, Frosthelm was kind of winding down, so we just rolled right in from Frosthelm right into Fell.
Oh, very cool. That makes sense to me, especially because Frosthelm was kind of that black thrash kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I always thought that the black and roll kind of thing and black thrash were kind of analogous to each other. It's like one's kind of taking one direction, one's taking the other direction, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of branches on the same tree.
Yeah, exactly. And, both of them are like kind of combining that Venom influence with, more of a speed metal kind of thing. And this is something I always ask everybody who's on here, what got you guys into metal personally as individuals?
Oh, Metallica. I remember being in like the fifth grade. We didn't have, I'm from a small town in North Dakota. We didn't have like record stores. I didn't have MTV in my home, but just I happened to get home from school one day and turn on VH1. And I saw the video for One by Metallica, and that just opened up the whole world of metal to me. So I buy all the Metallica records, start buying all the Megadeth, all the Anthrax, everything else, all the other bands that Metallica introduces you to, like the Misfits, Motorhead, and stuff like that. And it just all exploded from there and just never looked back.
And how about you, Dakota?
That's a very similar story. I'm also from a different and very small town in North Dakota with no record stores or anything like that. And there was a family friend who played guitar, and he had like a really cool like Charvel guitar and a boombox and yeah, Metallica tapes. And I wanted to play the guitar, and I had like an acoustic. And he came over one day and he played some of those tapes for me, and he made me a mixtape. It had Kill 'Em All on one side and Master Puppets on the other. And that was pretty much how it started.
That's pretty cool. I mean, what a friend to get you that.
Yeah, yeah.
And kind of part of that discussion is like, what's some influences for this band in particular? And like the black and roll thing, because it's so interesting how black and roll is kind of taking the black metal stuff and kind of going back a little bit to that first wave of black metal a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say kind of the classics, Motorhead, Venom,
Yeah,
Tank, Dissection for us, and Old Slayer for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, Show No Mercy to me is like, in my opinion, it's kind of the best Slayer album, really.
I would agree. I think I mean I listened to Metallica and I kind of got into Megadeth and stuff, but when I first heard that first Slayer record, that really kind of changed my perception on heavy metal, and it made me feel really cool. I was in the seventh grade in homeroom, and there was this kid next to me, and he said, "I stole this tape from my cousin, but it sucks. Do you want it?" And I said, "Okay." And it was the first Slayer record.
And it was Show No Mercy. He thought it
Yeah,
sucked.
yeah.
That's so funny. I love that album. I think
Mm,
I think that's
me
really
too.
their best record.
I would agree. Absolutely.
And what do you guys think of kind of the scene where you guys are at? What kind of bands are there out there? Is there much going on, or is it a little bit quieter?
Good job.
There ain't much going on,
Yeah.
unfortunately. There's us. I play in a couple of other bands. there's there's definitely less than 10 bands that would fall under the heavy metal, punk, and hardcore subgenres. And as far as other stuff goes, hipster music and indie thrift store guitar girls and stuff like that. There's plenty of that for everybody. There's plenty of bar bands doing covers, but there's not a whole lot of original music, especially the kind of stuff that we like. But there is a pretty solid group of people around here who do want to attend those shows when there is a bigger metal show that comes around. So it's like we kind of have to. We went to Billings recently, and that's kind of how it goes for us. Is we have to take like a 6 hour drive to get out of the state to play somewhere to have like a really great metal show.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think North Dakota has the lowest population of any state, right? It's either you
That might
guys
be
or
true.
it's either you guys or Wyoming. So pretty sparse as far as population
Absolutely.
centers. So let's talk about Four Hits from Hell. So that came out this year, correct?
Yep, yep.
And I know some of the songs were from singles that you guys had out before. Were they all previously released, or was it just a couple of them?
I think three of the four were released previously, but Before It's From Mel has it's all remixed and remastered.
Gotcha. So they're all basically re-recorded, huh?
Like some of the recordings are the same. We might have overdubbed some vocals or guitar tracks here and there, but it's basically from that session that we did. I think it was in the fall of 2020.
Oh, gotcha. Right, because most of those were from 2021 when I looked at
Yeah.
them, labeled as singles. And so let's talk about Devil's Doorbell first. And you guys have some really interesting trem runs on there. How did those kind of come together? And what do you look at as far as like scales and stuff and working on those trem runs?
I would say like the black metal influence is probably very dissection-esque or very Swedish influenced. Um, when I write the songs, they usually dictate themselves. Like I started with just that opening riff and kind of just built on that. And I'd go back and make a couple different demos and try to add a little just some flavor to it, spice it up a little bit.
Yeah. What kind of gear did you use for your guitar sounds on there? Because it sounds really good.
I think on that session, it's my Gibson Les Paul. At the time, I think it had just distortions in it, Duncan distortions.
Yeah.
Um, I I uh, I always use an SD1 pretty much my entire career to boost pretty much everything. And then I think for the left guitar, it was channel B of an orange Dual Dark 100,
Oh
and
wow.
and the right guitar was channel A.
Oh, that's really interesting because I haven't played much with the oranges. Like I've heard sometimes that they can be kind of flubby, but I guess that SD1 must kind of cure that, huh?
Absolutely. And I think the Dual Dark is a little bit special. It's a little tighter than your average orange and probably higher gain too, I would say. And I think we ran those through some DV Mark neoclassic cabs. They're like 412s, but they weigh like 40 pounds.
Oh, okay. How about you, John, for your bass stuff?
On the recordings, I don't even actually remember anymore because that was so far back. I don't remember how we recorded, but what did we use in the studio?
It was some type of direct box
It was
that TP had.
something direct in, yeah. For the life of me, I couldn't honestly tell you. And I'm not much of a gear guy myself. I plug in if it sounds good, I like it. Don't ask me what the hell it was, or you know.
Bass player mentality.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Actually,
I'm
live.
busy getting drunk and stoned, man. I can't be expected to expect me to know what's going on with gear.
Yeah, we don't even use amps anymore live. It's just so much quicker just to have a direct solution.
You use like a Tone X or something and just
I,
straight into the board.
I use a Helix, an HX stomp, and I run my SD1 into a rat into a Desert Doom fuzz coven to kind of boost a plexi type of thing in there.
Cool, cool, cool. And then on that one, I couldn't quite discern it. What were the lyrics for Devil's Doorbell really about?
Oh, it's about freedom and kind of just doing what you want. Maybe.
Awesome.
It's also kind of about pussy.
Yeah, I noticed a trend with that on this.
Yeah, they're pretty sleazy.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the classic like rock and roll thing that we all love,
Absolutely.
It was all about, Van Halen and Kiss and AC/DC. It was all about, they're trying to get girls and party. Kind
Well,
of want to bring
that's
that little bit of that aesthetic back, but still have it be, evil.
that's kind of a good segue to tactical puke, because for a black and roll thing, that's almost kind of a pizza thrash lyrical theme. That's like something
Absolutely.
you'd hear in a Municipal Waste song.
Yeah, yeah.
I really liked the main riff on that one. I thought that was like just super cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool riff. I wrote it and it didn't really sound like that originally. It was like a couple fret higher, and then I changed it to kind of a darker tonality, and that's kind of what we went with. And the song basically wrote itself. Actually, they all did.
Yeah, that one, like that main riff really carries a lot of the song. And I thought
Yeah,
that was really cool. Hell-Hearted Woman, that one's got another really hooky main riff. And then I kind of thought it had this interesting mix of like an almost hair metal kind of thing. And then you
absolutely.
guys are going on these trem runs. I thought that was really unique. I mean, even with the black and roll stuff, you don't hear that much of like a hair metal influence.
Yeah,
Like that main riff could be a rat riff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say when I came up with that, I kind of was really getting back into Wasp, and that's the
Hmm.
biggest influence for that song. Um, just has like a I don't know. It just has that hair metal quality to it for sure.
Anthemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if he didn't have those trem runs and shrieked vocals, that could be on the radio.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely probably our poppiest
Yeah,
song.
I thought that one was really cool. I've actually listened to that a bunch of times. I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's a
actually
really cool song.
yeah, it's our top one on Spotify and Bandcamp and stuff.
Kind of feels like a crowd favorite when we play it live too. Seems like people dig that one a lot.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, it really kind of reminds me almost of like Enforcer a little bit, with like that like big kind of fun hooky riff, and then you guys go on those trem runs and kind of evil it up. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then as far as other songs go, I know you guys have like the Stormtrooper. Do you guys have others as well that you're working on or that are kind of in the bag or?
We actually have an entire record recorded. We recorded it last August. I think what I'm going to do with it though is I'm going to use it as demos. And there's a local producer that's really good that actually recorded most of For It's From Hell. I think I'm going to work with him on it and try to get the most out of the songs.
Oh, very
So
cool.
yeah, so it's 10 tracks. Hoping to have 11. I have a couple of other songs that I'm working on too that are pretty close to being done.
And do you write most of the music, Dakota?
So far, I've written pretty much everything.
Oh, awesome, man. So you're kind of the man in this one.
I think so. I'm just I know John's got some cool riffs. He just needs to bust them out here. And
Yeah, we all write. I mean, Billy
Yeah.
writes too. But it's like it's pretty easy to follow the leader when the leader writes such great material. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you keep using the term like they wrote themselves. And like for bands I've been in, I've written material and sometimes it's like that and sometimes it's a struggle. So you must have a gift if it comes to you that easy.
yeah, I think with this band, if it's not like popping right away, then it just goes to the cutting room floor. Maybe I'll revisit it later. But um, like writing the second Frost Film record, I think was kind of a struggle. And I didn't want to revisit any of that. Just the
Yeah.
headspace that it took to actually get that put together.
Gotcha. Did it end up being kind of like here's this riff and let's try to make it work with this and that kind of thing.
For me, it was mostly like the first Frost Zone record got a lot of really good reviews, and but there was always little complaints about it. Too short, songs are too short. So that kind of really got into my head.
Uh,
And I think that really influenced how I wrote that one.
yeah, that makes sense to me. It should be more about you enjoying your process with it than it
Mm,
should be about what someone else has to say about it. And I always think that's one of the cooler things about the metal genre is the farther and farther we get away from like corporate money, the better I think the genre actually gets.
I would
Even
say so.
though it's tough for metal musicians to make a living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought me to a question that I had about Stormtrooper and about Chase is better than the Catch, which is who did the vocals on those?
I did.
Oh wow, okay. That's really cool. So you can do like a lot of singing and you can do the harsh vocal, huh?
I suppose.
I thought you did a great job on
Oh,
those.
thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I was actually really impressed. I was like, I don't know if this is somebody else coming in to do it or how that worked out. I was really curious. And Chase is better than the Catch. What a classic Motorhead tune to do as a
Absolutely.
cover. And it's so fitting because, a lot of people call that black and roll genre, Motorhead riffs with black metal vocals.
Mm.
So what a great choice.
Did you ever see the video we did for that Motorhead cover?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, we actually kind of dissected the original music video for that and tried to do it basically shot for shot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's on YouTube if you want to check it out. We actually got permission from Sony to do it too.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
super cool. And did you guys record it in Bismarck?
Yeah, we just we have our practice space is like a shop or a big garage, and
Hmm.
we just dressed it up as a set and built a little drum riser and put some lights up and let it rip.
Wow, that must have been a blast.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun.
I'll have to check that
Making
out.
making videos is a lot of fun, but it's doing it 2 or 3 man operation. It's a lot of work, but it's really fun to learn about. I love music videos, so it's super fun to learn about how to make them and be part of it.
Did you do a lot of the editing process on that, John, or a lot of the filming too?
I
Or
have very little to do with any of that, much like the
okay,
songwriting. Yeah, that's all this guy right here, but I've it's always something that I just thought was really cool,
yeah,
music videos. So learning stuff like that from him and just kind of seeing how the sausage is made and that sort of thing, because not everybody gets, a lot of bands don't get the opportunity to do stuff like that, make music videos, because a lot of us are, nobodies, and that shit costs money.
absolutely.
You got to have a place to do it. Sometimes you got to have people, actors or whatever you want to call them in it. And you got to have all this other, lighting. You got to have all this other stuff.
Well, I think it's wild. That really used to be a big part of the music experience.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
missed it
even
so much. I grew up on, like I was saying about VH1 earlier. It's like, even we didn't
mhm.
have MTV, but I was tuning into VH1 just to see the same goddamn videos, until, for a month or however long it took them to add, whatever's in the
Yeah, like
top
MTV
videos
Two
and
Uranium or whatever that was,
yeah.
where they'd have the metal stuff. Yeah, I
I
mean,
always found it fascinating. It did a lot for me as a fan, so I can imagine like being on the other side of that.
I actually found a lot of bands that way back in like 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Like I think when Amon Amarth did with Odin on Our Side, they did a video, and I just remember that so clearly. That was like the gateway almost to those kind of more extreme bands.
Mhm.
Right, yeah. Yeah, like when we finally did get MTV in the house, there was the re-airing of Headbangers Ball when it was hosted by Jamie Josta. Like that introduced me to a lot of awesome bands that were modern at the time.
For sure.
It was great.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that that's gone away, and I don't know if it's just because of the streaming thing or if it's the lack of interest from cable television or what, but it'd be kind of cool if they brought that back a little bit, although I don't know how they do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I would love it, but yeah, who has TV anymore? You know,
Yeah.
who's watching MTV, you know, other than to see the Jersey Shore or whatever.
I don't even know if they have that anymore. Like that might have been 10 years ago now
This,
too.
this is this is how outdated my reference of television is. Yeah.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, I don't think I'll ever pay for cable in a place where I live, you know. Like my mom and dad have it. You know, the only reason to have cable is if you want to watch college football or something.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. So what's the favorite gig that you guys have played together as a band?
We haven't really played that many gigs, honestly. I think
Yeah,
we
really.
probably played maybe 4 or 5 in our whole career.
Yeah,
Um,
just since the beginning of Fell, I think it's been maybe three. I can think off the top of my head 3 gigs here, and then the one we just did in Billings. There might be one more.
I think we did 2 record store slots, the Sun, and that's Billings. So yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5.
I would say the one in Billings was awesome.
Yeah,
When we
Billings
just
really
played.
kicked
Yeah,
ass.
and we've never had like a bad gig or anything, but so far. But yeah, the Billings was really cool. It seems like everyone came out, more or less a full house.
Yeah, it was a packed house from like beginning to end, nonstop moshing. There were just all kinds of different people there, not just your typical stereotypical metalheads or whatever you would want to call them. It's just
Yeah.
everybody wanted to go see a good show and see heavy bands and have fun and mosh and drink beer and shove each other around for hours.
Yeah,
It was
so
fucking
it's fun.
rad. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen here. It's like we go, you can. There's been good shows around here, but it's rare that that sort of crowd shows up.
And was that like an all-day event or something over there?
No, it was just a 5 band bill. Was it 5 bands?
I think it
Five
was
band bill.
5.
That sounds like a good time. I know a buddy of mine was at that. So
Oh
that
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, my bandmate, his name's Ellis Parr. He's buddies
I
with
talked to
Billy.
him there.
Is he
Yeah.
the? Is he
Yeah.
play football?
Yeah.
I remember him from Minot.
Yeah.
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 And he's buddies with Billy.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, he's
He
the
showed up wearing my other band's shirt, so that was pretty rad.
Was
To
him?
go to to go to a different stage that we haven't played in,
That's
and
pretty cool. I had
and
no
a
idea.
dude is wearing my other band's shirt. So that's pretty cool.
well, that kind of leads into another topic that I've been kind of curious about because when him and I first met, he told me about Frosthelm, and I was a pretty big fan of both of those albums. And you know, I get what you were saying. So was the transition from Frosthelm to Fell just about not really having fun with the idea of Frosthelm anymore?
I
Or
I would say so. I think for me, it was kind of starting to fizzle out. There was a lot of pressure when we put out that first record, and we got sponsorships and label interest, and we got to go to some really cool places with that band. But I think for myself, and I think it was just yeah, it probably wasn't fun anymore, at least at the time. And we've rehearsed some Frostom stuff within the last year or so. And I mean it still sounds good. But yeah, it was I think it was just kind of fizzling out for me at the time. I was pretty burnt out on it because it was essentially a full-time kind of thing.
yeah.
It kind of seemed that with everybody else. Like there was just this sense of, God damn, we've really worked ourselves to the bone from kind of all angles in that band. And it's like, yeah, music, like you were saying, making music should be a labor of love. And it seems like I'm kind of on the outside looking in a little bit for most of that because I did gigs with with the band for the last year, but wasn't in the depths of it like the rest of them were. But it seemed like it turned from a labor of love into just labor.
That sounds like a pretty frustrating thing to go through. I haven't been through that with music yet. And I can't imagine something becoming kind of, I don't know, without a better term, like ashes in your mouth a little bit, like almost a
Oh yeah.
bitter, something you're supposed to love having a bit of a bitter taste, you know? That sounds like a frustrating process.
Yeah, it definitely was.
maybe it comes with age too. I mean, like I've been there myself. It's easy to see how it happens.
Yeah. So, you guys have an album that's in the works essentially. And is that kind of what's next for you guys? Is an LP release?
I think so. Like I said, I want to send the demos over to the producer and
Hmm.
kind of try to get the most out of the songs. And we really can't do any gigging because Billy's living in Wisconsin right now. I think we have one more gig booked for the summer, and after that, it's probably just trying to get this record put together and out.
And how does that work when you guys are far away? Will he just send you his parts via like a Google Drive or something like that?
I think for demos, that's okay, but I think we'll probably get him out here for
Yeah.
actual tracking.
In the studio, get things tracked.
Absolutely.
And you said you had an upcoming gig for this summer. Where is that going to be at?
It's actually going to be here in Bismarck. It's August 10th.
I think it's August 10th.
August
Yeah.
10th at the Laughing Sun. It's kind of a festival, I would say, kind of like a local showcase. Um, a lot of bands that used to be pretty big around here kind of get back together for that. And they stuck us on it, so we're gonna play.
Awesome. Well, the band is Fell. The record is Four Hits from Hell. And thank you guys very much for doing this today. I really appreciate it, and I'll get it out as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.